This is it.
The final part.
Part 6 of Michelle and I's journey of loss and love. I'm David St.Martin.
I'm Michelle St. Martin.
Can I just say to you, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for allowing us to document this and to share with, which now seems to be a lot more friends that we had than a number of weeks ago. And thank you for just continually trying to get me to do something as
also
scary,
outside of your comfort zone,
massively
for sure.
Scary, outside my comfort zone. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve, so to be able to sit and document feelings and thoughts through our journey of loss and love it's been really empowering for me to know that I should open up so much more.
And as your wife, it's been really lovely to sit and listen to that. And that's one of the points we've done it. I think it is so good that you talk to each other. It's been really lovely. And even from the first one we done, to sit back and recall some of the things you've said. And it's really nice to finally hear that.
Let me get a kiss. Thank you, darling. So, this is it. The final episode of Loss and Love. And this is the peak now. This is when we legally adopted our son. Now, there are rules in place for the way depends on obviously what country you're in, but in terms of England, Wales and Scotland, the way that it works is there's typically now a minimum of a 10-week process to go through where the child stays with you in the home, you have typically weekly updates with your social worker, and again it's down to them to really make sure that they are supporting you, going through nurturing you as new parents, still going through that journey. And I think we said in our last episode that we were really fortunate that our social workers, because we were really honest up front at the very start of the process in terms of when our son first came to us, is look, we do need some additional support. There's certain things we just are not aware of. What groups, what community groups, just everything. I know we're there for us.
So much. And because our child came to us of an age that was close to going to preschool, just play groups so that they can interact with other children. I knew nothing about that. I didn't know where our local ones were. I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't know what I need to do, even thinking about getting them to nursery. But they were so amazing, and it's so good to talk to a social worker. Even if you think it's a silly question, ask it, because they're there to help.
Indeed. So, we went through a number of weeks, and in the end it was kind of 5 months into us having our son. And again, the 10 weeks now has changed, and they've only put that new rule in place in the last few years. We're talking about when we adopted 9 years ago. So for us, it took around 5 months. And I remember at the stage where what then happens is the local authority, your social worker, so if you're going through a local authority or an agency, they then have to go to the courts and present your case to the courts to say, this couple now, or this individual now wants to legally adopt the child. So once the application is made with a court, at that point, that's when the process starts. But the day that comes when you go to court and you've had the matching panel and you then get told that you're going to legally adopt your child is incredible. And my only slight regret then, thinking back, is there were certain things that we weren't told what we could have done when we went to court. So, we had a few family and friends come with us that shared that amazing day, and but there was no restrictions. Like we could have had
a party in the courthouse.
Yeah, and it virtually was a party.
With the small group we had, it was a party, but we could have had so much more. But it was lovely nevertheless. But you're right, we could have invited more people to enjoy that day with us.
And little things like, what do you wear? You're going to court. I don't know about you guys. I rarely go to court. So, but when you go to court, you feel like you've got to be, kind of all suited and booted and,
we did, didn't we? We was quite dressed up, actually.
Which...
We didn't need to be. We could have been a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, because ultimately what you're doing is you're coming and you're celebrating a child coming into your household legally.
Becoming yours.
And that for me was... That was the... Even before... I'm jumping now, but even before knowing that we had to still go through the legal adoption route, and there are things that can happen that can restrict and stop you legally adopting a child. Things like, the birth parent may decide against it. Now, in extreme circumstances, that would happen, but the court still has the overriding rule to allow it to continue. But even, within those 5 months, there was a little bit of a uncertainty of, well, what
if they turn up?
What if... Yeah. All the negative connotations you put towards this situation.
I think you all would go through the same thing. I think anyone who's going through that process will think that, because deep down in the back of your minds, I think you never know what the birth family's intentions would be, if friends and family of them would turn up and try to put a stop to things. I think it's always in the back of your mind.
Yeah, human nature.
It's human nature, but it really, very rarely happens. I mean, I don't know of any cases from people that I know that it's happened to. So please don't go away thinking that. But it's just something that, if you do have them thoughts, it's natural.
Indeed.
It's quite natural.
And the process in all probably took around 50 minutes. Let's call it an hour.
I just remember crying through that whole thing. Yep. I couldn't even talk to the judge through the tears of happiness. It was amazing. But she was great. Do you remember her? Yeah, she was really great. The judge was funny. She made us feel welcome. She was really happy to hand the child over to us. It was lovely.
And it was a celebration.
Yeah,
and
it was.
So for us, our son has 3 birthdays. He has the day that he came to us, the very first day we saw him. Then he's got his new name day, which is when we legally adopted him. And then he's got his birthday. So, and there's ways that you'll celebrate it. There will be a bigger celebration for one, and there may be not less of a celebration for another. But it's the recognition, and again, it depends on how old your child is. But it's a recognition that the day that the child legally becomes yours, in that child's mind, and I've read a lot of studies and books on this, that's bigger than their birthday, because they feel that they've been reborn again.
And that's how I feel. So for me, as his mother, the day for me is the day that we legally adopted him. That's my birthday for him. That's the day that I gave birth to him. So that's so important. We do obviously celebrate his birthday.
Of course.
Because that's his age, isn't it?
Yeah.
But my birthday is, that's the day that I had him. It was lovely.
It really was. So to recap, we're so grateful for you spending the time listening to us talk about our experience, and again, we're always going to be open to having discussions, one-on-one with you all. But just to recap, and I'll put it up here just so we're not missing anything at all. So, who can adopt? For whatever reasons you want to go down the adoption route or fostering route, but who can adopt? So, to adopt, you have to be above the age of 21 and happy to make space in your life and your home for a child. So you've got to be flexible, you've got to be patient, you've got to be energetic, you've got to be determined to make a positive impact on this child's life.
And most of all, give them love. You have to be able to shower them with love. It's so important.
Yep. So minimum you've got to be is 21. There is no upper age limit.
No, there isn't.
As there isn't when you naturally conceive. Which is great. You can still adopt if you're single. You can adopt despite your sexual orientation. And in the very diverse world we live in now, that's a lot more encouraging. That there are so many dynamic groups of individuals that want to give a life to a child.
So I'm sure there's people out there thinking that maybe, because of your sexuality, that, whether you can or can't adopt, you can. So definitely, if you're thinking about it, make that call. and become a parent to a child that's actually waiting for you.
Again, disability. Providing you can care for the child, having a disability does not impact your ability to adopt a child. And again, we talk about diversity, and the same for an ethnic background, and it's crazy in 2020 we have to talk about this, but there is no, pretty much there are no rules in essence for you not to go down and consider the adoption route. Even on the home front, you don't have to have your own home or mortgage. You can rent. Again, it comes down to making sure that the impact of that child is nurtured and cared for, and that you have the space to go down and have that child on board. Even low-income families, because again, people think, well, why would you adopt if you're not in a financial position to care for that child? Well, but there's low-income benefits available, as there are for parents that conceive naturally. So
exactly, it's the same process, isn't it?
Don't let that discourage you from
adoption,
from adopting.
Even when you adopt a child as well. So for me, I was working for an amazing company, so the maternity package was great. I took full maternity leave. Most companies now just recognise, so there will be, when you get your contract, it will talk about maternity and paternity and also adoption leave, and you get the same rights. So don't think because you're adopting a child you're not entitled to the same rights, because you are, because you're still becoming a mum and a dad and a family to a child, as if you was giving birth naturally.
Absolutely.
So 100%, it's exactly the same rule applies for both, doesn't
100%.
it?
And again, even if you have children already, which is an amazing thing, you can still go down the adoption route, because again, adopting singles, sibling groups, triplets, however it happens to be, it comes down to space within the home to look at. So we're talking about the UK now, so if you are in the UK, you've got to have lived here for at least 12 months. Each country is going to have different rules and processes in place, so check your local rules.
Your local authority as well, they'll give you all the information.
They will. And the final thing, and it does come up around criminal records. Well, if I've had a criminal record, can I go down and adopt or foster a child? Yes, you can. Naturally, it depends on what the
crime was.
The crime was. So naturally, anything relating to children,
no,
that's not even
questionable. Obviously that's common sense, but if it's slight crimes, just something silly, they wouldn't discriminate against you for that. So it's definitely worth making the call for them to decide whether you can or can't. So it's worth having just that open conversation with your local authority.
Definitely. So I think to finish off then, knowing that we feel that we've given enough,
I feel that we could have given so much more.
But this was a sprint. This was a sprint for us to encourage you individually as a couple to think about the whole reason that you want to give a life to a child, another human being. And when you can write down and you can document in your own words the reason you want to have a family, at that point, you then open up your heart and you say, well, let's consider fostering or adoption.
Also, for me, so many people, and even just recently to a few days ago, will ask me, well, would I never have considered surrogacy? My answer to that was, for me, it would have been really hard for me to watch another woman carry my baby when there's so many children born already that desperately need a mum and dad. So to create a life that maybe my egg and David's sperm might not have been compatible, and maybe the woman could have again miscarried through surrogacy, again would have been another heartbreak. Just watching a baby grow in somebody else that was my baby in someone else's tummy, physically I couldn't cope with that. And then it come to the point that there's so many children, there was a child out there waiting for us, and that was more important to me, to become a mum and dad that way, knowing that there was children already born and so many waiting for good, decent human beings to take them on, give them love, show them the way, guide them. And it's not about money, it's not about material things. All children need is love, nurture, respect, and just guidance, isn't it? I think, you know, and I was asked that question recently and that was my answer, so I just wanted to share that with you because it's, you know, it's really important. I don't know if some of you are sitting out there thinking, because we've not spoken about surrogacy or anything like that. We had thought about it, but it just wasn't right for me for those reasons, knowing that there was already children out there that desperately needed a home that had already been created.
Yeah, and just a final stats on that. At the moment, there's 6,000 children that are in the system for adoption.
6,000.
Not fostering, adoption. And that typically is the stats each year. So, but look, hopefully we've given you enough to at least inquire, go on an open night with your local authority, find out when your next local night is, and just turn up. You don't even need to participate. You know, there's typically lots and lots of couples there.
Yeah.
Just sit back, you know, kind of immerse yourself on what's being said. Listen to some of the speakers that they have up there that share their story and tell you their journey. And then see if that impact will have an impact on you in your heart to then consider this.
And also, if you do go down that road, we would love to hear from you. If you do make that call to your local authorities, just to let us know that you have done that. If you're thinking about adoption or other means to become parents or family, please let us know. It'd be so lovely to hear your story, especially if you do go down the route of adoption. We'd love to hear from them, won't we, Dave?
100%. Goes without saying. So, from our family...
On that note,
to you all,
thank you
so much for taking the time. And I would say until next time, I don't know what we
talk about next time.
Listen, you know where we're at. All our contact details have been displayed everywhere. But thank you genuinely from the bottom of our hearts for listening and engaging with us on this.
And also thank you to all the amazing social workers that deal with these children and place children with families. Obviously, without you, we wouldn't have our child. So thank you to all the social workers as well.
Lovely. Take care, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.